Hello and welcome to MalMakes. Today we're going to be painting a scene from Broken Picturephone. This is the full version. If you're interested in the time-lapse, you can click on the card here. Otherwise, let's get started. In case you haven't heard of Broken Picturephone, it's a free-to-play web game coded by my friend Chaz, and it's kind of a blend of telephone and Pictionary. So I thought I'd bring that to you today here on MalMakes, and we're going to start by drawing it in chalk pastel just in case we make any mistakes. So you can see I've kind of changed some of my lines here, and I can just take that cloth and go ahead and just kind of erase them out. The most important thing about drawing faces is to make sure that the features are right, otherwise it's not going to look like the person you're drawing or painting, so the features are probably the most important part about working from people. Now I'm trying to make this really realistic, so I'm trying to make everything match the original intent of the game creator and what they've decided to do with this. So I'm trying to be really exact and really looking at my resources here to make sure things are true to how they should be. Once I'm happy with the character, I can go ahead and start to fill in things. So the first thing I'm going to work on is filling in the shirt. Now I've mixed up a green on my palette with some primary yellow and primary cyan, and I just kind of went back and forth adding little bits of color until I had something that matches exactly. Now it's kind of hard sometimes to do that, and you just have to make sure you're adding little bits of paint. If you add too much, it's definitely going to go too far in one direction versus the other. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to fill this in. Making sure I get good coverage. I don't want to have any speckles of canvas showing through, like a couple of these dots here. So I'm just going to make sure I use a lot of paint and fill it all in nicely. Now the great thing about acrylic paint is if I don't like something, once it's dry I can go ahead and go back over it. And once this is on the canvas, I'm finding it's a little bit too yellow and not quite green enough. So in order to make things greener, I need to add more blue, because blue is the primary color with yellow that make green. Once I'm happy with the new color, I'm just going to add some onto my paintbrush, and I'm going to paint next to what I have already to show you the difference in color. You can see this one is a lot more green and it has more of the blue in it, and I can go ahead and just cover back over this and finish painting the shirt. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and fill in is the duck beak, and I'm using a light yellow for that because that's how it is in the game, and I made that with titanium white and then primary yellow. Now you'll notice it's kind of transparent and showing some of this chalk through. Earlier I talked about how I want to use chalk that kind of matches things, and it's because everything will be getting a black outline is why I use the dark gray chalk, but I'm just going to do another coat of this primary yellow titanium white mix just to cover that up. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in, let it dry, and do another coat later. The next thing I'm going to fill in is the duck's eye, and I've mixed up a light blue with the titanium white and primary cyan. Now when you're painting, you always want to match your brush to your size. So down here I used a bigger brush because I had a lot more to fill in, but these smaller spaces I'm using smaller brushes. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of this light blue and start to fill in this eye. I know I have to paint in some white and it will kind of hide some of this chalk pastel, but in the meantime I'm going to be taking some Mars Black and I'm going to start to fill in the hair up here. While everything's drying, the next thing I'm going to work on is starting to fill in my background and then the face. Now I haven't done these lines yet in black because I know I'm going to be outlining everything, and if I'm repainting everything to give it a second coat, there's no point in doing the outline now because I'll have to do it again later. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to fill in my background in the face in pure titanium white, and I'm just going to go ahead and try and be very careful so I don't go over anything and make sure I cover up any bits of chalk that I didn't erase all the way. It's time to start giving everything a second coat of paint. So I'm going to start on the left and work my way right. Now that's something I should think about because I am right-handed. I need to start on the left so the stuff on the right is dry. Now I've already made that mistake once today. I set my whole arm on this paint over here while it was still wet. So you need to be careful of that based on which hand is your dominant hand. The next thing I'm going to do is outline everything in black. Now this is a paint marker that I filled with a liquid paint, so I'm just going to go ahead and go over absolutely everything with this. As I'm filling this in, it's important to get every little bit and every little choice that was done. For example, the bottom of this duck kind of overlaps right here, so I'm making sure I get even little details like that. Once I'm happy with the marker, there's a few things I want to touch up, like I'm realizing that the beak doesn't get outlined and neither does the eye. So I'm just going to go ahead and repaint over those parts with the yellow and the white and the blue, just to make them all set. And then I went a little too far on some of these little pieces here, so I'm just going to grab some white paint and recover up some of that. And we're done! We have a scene from Broken Picturephone. If you're interested in this piece, you could buy a print or a poster or bid on this original canvas. There's links down below. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. You can find out more at supportmal.com. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of MalMakes, and I'll see you again here for another video game painting.